sometimes obviously there's a bit of empathy with people, and sometimes it goes a little bit further than empathy, and then there's a cost, to that, and it's a cost to yourself, and sometimes that, and I suppose in some ways my faith wouldn't allow me to walk away from people when they do ask a little bit more. What they're asking is your time, and I've stood many a time out of the store, in the aisle, listening to people's, sometimes I don't know what to do. I can't help them because I'm not part of their lives in that way. But sometimes they just want someone to listen to, and that gives them that space that somebody actually will listen to me. But ultimately, I sometimes can't. So it's good to have that moment with them. I think they appreciate that, and sometimes it actually runs very deep. You can actually feel it yourself, and so there's a cost sometimes, and that's a cost of time and a little bit of yourself. But then there's a draw to that you have to do that. There's no sort of get out of that. I think maybe there was a time I did. I just felt that was my life where I live, outside the community, maybe 10, 15 minutes drive to the village. But we're holistic, aren't we? So it sometimes you can't separate it. It crosses over, and probably my faith is that common sort of denominator that drives me on. To be part of it. So if we want to be whole in ourselves, then our life is whole. It's a holistic way of living.
It can be, normally, especially when you're working full time, and everybody will tell you this, the last day that you're working, you've got that goal, which is get to the end of the day and it's going to be a weekend and it's going to be great. And, you get to that where you think, shall I check emails just before I go home? It might be important, it might not. And you can get an email that you think, I really don't want to reply to this. And you do, and you think, go on then, I will do. And then you get almost an instantaneous one back, and you realise that somebody's been sat waiting for that, and that'll probably help their weekend in some small way. That your positive reply about how marvellous you are, or what a good job you're doing, or don't worry, I've done that, or if you haven't marked this work, or if you haven't, finished off these assignments, don't worry, you can leave them till the following week. And I think sometimes we're so busy, especially with emails coming at you all the time, rather than us physically getting up and walking to someone, you just fire off an email because you think, there you go, I can fire off 10 emails in this time I can walk to somebody. But it's then, you realise how important you are to somebody else, and how they sort of need to feed off you a little bit to get something back, some positivity, which again creates a challenge, because it means that I always make sure that I leave on time on the Friday. It's the one day I think, I don't care, I'm going on time. And I always say to students, if you want to hand any work in, make sure you hand it in before 4 o'clock on the Friday, because if you do, I will run you over in the car. I'm off, that's it, I'm going. And we have a bit of a joke about it. But it's a rule I set myself. But again, things happen that you have to deal with, and somebody wants to talk to you, and you think, go on then. And then you see how positive your kind words or your suggestion can be, and you think, I've actually made a difference here, which is quite good. But again, if it's a one-off, it's okay. But some of the issues, I think, especially when a business is going through a change, or a person's going through a change, and their priorities are changing and the business is changing, one of the things you've got to be careful of is that you don't get sucked in, because you have to be selfish, which is a thing that we don't like admitting. I'm not selfish, I'm very selfless. But sometimes you have to be selfish, because if you don't, your timings go, your priorities go, and you end up used, you know, sort of more spent than what you can give. And I think sometimes then, although you think, well, I've helped that person, even though that's actually finished me off, if you do that to the extent of your own health or your own sanity, then perhaps you weren't really helped, because all you've done is just maybe solve their problem short term, but you've created another one with yourself. So there are times when you have to look at realising how important you are to others, but realising that there are boundaries where you have to go, I can do this for you now, but if you want any more than that, can we arrange to meet next week, or is there anybody else that can help me do X, Y, Z, because I can't. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it's not something that, I think as a mum, it's not something that you like to admit, that you have to sort of, you know, go, hang on, that's enough for me. Because as a mum, you know, I think, you know, you like to think that you're a bit of a superhuman kind of superhero that can do it all. And I think, again, these days, you can't. And I think anybody who looks as though they're having it all, doing it all perfectly, they're probably the ones, and I know from experience now, they're the ones that you admire. You think, oh, why can't I have all my hair in place and my nails done and the children are immaculate, and the house is perfect, and wow. And it's a facade. So I think when you get to that point where you can feel comfortable with yourself and you go, yeah, so what? You know, get the grass needs cutting, or we're going out for tea because I can't be bothered to cook. There's nothing wrong with that. Sorry friend, I can't help you out anymore.